What is going on, YouTube? It is Primitive here, and today I'm going to be bringing you the Beelstarmon deck list that I used to get top 32 at North America Nationals this past weekend. I just recently got back, and so I'm trying to get this up as quick as I can for you all so you can see the list that I did use. I do appreciate everybody that showed me support, everybody that I met there, or the people just on the Facebook group who were rooting for the lone Beelstar. I appreciate it. I tried to do my best. Unfortunately, was taken out in top 32, so wasn't able to go as far as I wanted. But still really happy with the deck, was happy that I was able to bring a deck that I really enjoyed and one that I really liked this format and be able to perform with it, even though it might be a little bit of an underdog of a deck. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into the list. Alright, so to start off with the Digitama, we are going to be playing 5 because I just had so many times where I would loop out to the 5th egg that I wanted to make sure that I had that 5th egg so that way I could get an extra rookie to promote out and get that aggression going. But we're going with the 4 Demimeramon, just the best egg. Going to be able to on deletion draw 1, trash 1, and then for the 5th egg, we have the Pagumon on deletion trash the top 2, which sometimes is very strong, sometimes not, because sometimes you trash something like a Sistermon and a Scatter Mode, but sometimes you trash the top 2 and it's 2 7-cost options, and so it works out really well. But again, I wanted a 5th egg just because I was looping through rookies so much, and I wanted something that was going to help with the Beelstar getting cards in trash, so I thought Pagu was just the next best egg, but I still think Demimera is the best. Now, starting off with the rookies, we are going to be having 3 Gabumon from BT2 on deletion, draw 2, trash 1, and then 2 Gabumon from starter deck 6, which is when attacking, draw 1, trash 1. Now, a lot of the times this Gabumon is going to be a lot better because you get to draw 2 cards and then trash 1, as to where this is just draw 1 and trash 1. But the thing is that you're normally swinging in with Scatter Mode as your champion, and Scatter Mode, the whole meme of Scatter Mode has jamming, is very real, and so there's a lot of times where you'll swing in, it'll survive, and then you'll get de-digivolved by BT8 Metal Greymon, or you'll hit a bounce card or Chaos Degradation, and you lose the draws from the Scatter Mode, which is very annoying. And so I liked the when attacking Gabumon because even if you did hit something that made it so you didn't get Scatter Mode draws, you still get some sort of value. If you swing with a Scatter Mode with this Gabumon and you hit a Chaos Degrade, you get no draws in trash. At least with this one, you get 1. And so I like the value of at least guaranteeing to get something, and still being able to draw 1, trash 1 is still very similar to the draw 2, trash 1, but it's a bit more guaranteed because you'll get it whether you get de-digivolved or hit Chaos Degrade or whatever, it doesn't matter. But these are going to be our inheritable rookies, and I think they worked out very well. Next up, we got our Floodgates, 3 Psychmon and 2 Gazimon. Now, Psychmon was incredibly important. It might seem like a counterproductive card in the deck because our Beelstars do get reduced, but you need this for multiple matchups like Blue Flare or Crossheart. It's very crucial. There are other matchups where stopping Digicrossing is important. Things like Dorbikmon, it can be very annoying for, but I really like Psychmon, and with the more Crossheart popularity going up, I wanted to make sure to have more Psychmons because I'm not really too worried about the Psychmon hurting myself because it doesn't happen too often, because I can either swing it in, it'll go down in security, or I can Digivolve up. I can play Deathclaw, Calling from Darkness, whatever. I just wanted to make sure that I was able to have this. It's also very good in the mirror because if your opponent doesn't really play Psychmon or doesn't play something like the Deathclaw, then you can just keep ending your turn with Psychmon, so you can play your Beelstar, then bring out a Psychmon, which means that they can't play their own Beelstar. Now, I didn't end up playing any mirror matches at the tournament, but I did in prep, so that was something to mention. And then Gazimon is just very strong. Being able to stop memory gain is very nice for memory boost and stuff like that. I think Gazimon's most important matchup was actually D-Brigade, which I played at, I believe we were 5-1 when I played the D-Brigade. But being able to play this so the Darkramon couldn't gain memory was really huge. But I just like the Floodgates because we are playing a slower, more control-y deck. So being able to have these cards to help control your opponent a bit more and help you set up a little bit more or give you the time to set up a little bit more does help. So very happy with these. Then we got 1 Impmon from BT6. Now, I was playing cards like Dracmon here, but I decided Impmon to be a lot better because, 1, you can just get a Beelstar back, as to where Dracmon you get a Calling back, which then can get you 2 Beelstars, which is technically more valuable, but you have this whole middleman of having to grab Calling and then play Calling. As where Impmon, you can just trash a card and then grab back a 3 Musketeer to grab your Beelstar. But it's also very nice because in the early game, you can just play it to trash a card, and if you don't have a Beelstar, you don't have to grab it back, so you could just get 7 costs in your trash. And there's a lot of matchups where grabbing back a Beelstar doesn't really matter. You just want to get 7 costs in trash for the 1 or 2 Beelstars that you are going to play that match. So Impmon felt like that Dracmon type of rookie, but was not as bricky, because if you don't have a 1-cost option in your trash and you play the Dracmon, then it's not really useful because you never really want to grab a 7-cost option back from your trash. And so Impmon gives you a much more consistent way to recycle Beelstars, and as soon as I was playing this over the Dracmon, it was really night and day. I think this one is just much better, being able to skip that middleman. I think Dracmon is strictly only better in like security control, because that's the only matchup where you're going to have enough time to play 6-7 Beelstars in a game. Now we're going to have 3 Sister Mont Blanc from the Jesmon starter deck, and this has on play Trash 1, Draw 2, so this is really good at just getting 7-cost options from your hand into trash, and being able to cycle through to find the other cards that you need, like your scatter modes, or your Beelstars, or whatever you need. So Sister Mont Blanc is very nice. I have wanted to cut this down to 2 pretty consistently ever since I really started testing this deck, just because in the early game, it's undefeated, so strong. It's one of your best early game cards, no doubt. But once you get to the mid to the late game, it feels almost unplayable, because you'll get to a point where you're trashing so many 7-cost options that you might not have any in hand, so you don't have any good trash. But also, you just draw so much that you could just get low on deck, and Sister Mont Blancs become a little bit too scary, so you'd rather just kind of nail bone back a scatter and get draws off that instead of playing the Sister Mont Blanc. So I have considered going down to 2 with this, but for consistency reasons of keeping it at, or finding it in the early game, I kept it at 3, which was fine, but I have always considered this going down to 2. I don't really have an idea of what I would cut it for yet, but I can say that this card is very strong in the early game, but kind of dies in the mid to late game. Then to finish off the rookies, we are going to be having 1 Lucemon from BT4, and this is the card that I probably got the most questions and comments on during the event, and I will explain kind of reason why I played it, and it's really not that in-depth. It's just that I am playing a bunch of removal cards like Fly Bullet and Cocytus, and I think Recovery is really good. I was testing the Sister Mont Blanc Awakened, which is also a 5-drop, but it's only a 5k, as to where Lucemon is a 10k, and so I just wanted to test out the Recovery, and very soon after testing it, it won me multiple games single-handedly by just being able to do something like play a Beelstar to be able to, for cheap, like 2 or 3, remove whatever's on board, play Lucemon to recover from 0 to 1, and just really stabilize in a way that saved me a lot of games. This card single-handedly won me at least 3 game 3s by just putting me from 0 security to 1. In one of those times, I did recover a Fly Bullet, which was essentially game winning, but for the most part, just being able to go from 0 security to 1 and then setting up a Vilemon is something that saved me a lot. So I just really liked Lucemon. I liked that this one had 10k over the Blanc having a 5k, because you swing in, have a much higher chance of surviving, which means that you can get more swings and be more aggressive. And like I said, with the Blancs, they're kind of mid in the mid to late game, so getting them back to hand with the Awakened really doesn't matter that much. So they both have their upsides and their downsides, but I just preferred the Lucemon more, and this card was very nice, but again, it's not crucial to the deck. It's just something I think supplemented it very well, and ever since I started testing it, I never really wanted to take it out. One thing I should note, actually, as I told my teammates as we were discussing if I should take it out, one thing I said was, too many people have told me I would have won if it wasn't for that Lucemon, which is a little Scooby-Doo type of reference, I feel like, but it happens so often that it just really helped out. This card is kind of a hit or miss, because I've had friends who tested it who didn't like it. I love it, but if you test it out, I think it will do you well. Now to move on into the champions, we got 4 scatter mode. Of course, our main champion being able to on deletion draw 3, trash 2 is going to work very well with our Gabumons as well as our Digitama, and so this is just our main draw and trash card. Be able to get that Beelstar going for cheap, or be able to get things like Vilemon and promote into trash if you need those for the Nailbone. But draw 3, trash 2, not really too much to say about the scatter mode. It's super key. Then we're going to be playing 2 of the Dark Lizardmon from BT11, and this has Retaliation while also having on deletion draw 1, trash 1. I originally just wanted to test this card because it felt like a pseudo scatter mode with the on deletion draw 1, trash 1, and I wanted a way to be able to get more value out of my Gabumons, because I was playing cards like Ogremon and I just didn't feel it was giving me the value that I needed as far as the cycle and being able to get cards in the trash. So I wanted to test this card out, and I was testing it as a 1 of, but very quickly went to 2 because of how good the Retaliation is. We have a ton of removal in this deck, which is great, but being able to have removal in other ways is very good, and so being able to have essentially a 2 to Digivolve removal that also cycles your game plan and progresses your game plan was very nice. I had multiple times during the event where I would just retaliate into a ultimate or a mega, and it would give me unbelievable amounts of advantage, because then instead of having to play Beelstar to remove their stack, I could play Beelstar to then Nailbone, so I'd be able to remove their stack, be able to draw and trash, play Beelstar, Nailbone, and go wide on board, and it just helped out. It helped out a ton. This card was absolutely super insane. I didn't really think Retaliation was going to be as crazy as it was, because it didn't come up as much in testing, but during the event it came up a ton. Like the second grandest player that I ended up playing, I remember they swung 3 checks. They hit Nailbone in one of those checks, and I decided to play out the Dark Lizardmon because they can't swing and pierce through it because they would die to Retaliation. And then if they swing into Security and don't get rid of the Dark Lizardmon, then on my turn I can just swing into it with Retaliation and get rid of the Grandis. Now, they ended up hitting a Cocytus or a Fly Bullet on the second to last check, so it didn't matter, but being able to play something out that they can't remove in that scenario and then have that Digimon go into the next turn was super nice, so I really liked the Retaliation here. Then we have the 1 Vile and the 1 Promote, which is going to finish off our champions, and these are just kind of our Nailbone targets for when the situation arises. Vilemon came up actually a bit more than Promote did during the event. I just felt like there was a lot of times where I was Nailboning Vilemons out, because sometimes you just get low on on deck and you don't want to Nailbone out the scatter mode, and so if you're passing turn, a lot of the times Vile mode is just better than Promote. But there was just a lot of times where the 6k blocker helped out a lot, whether that was stopping them from going for game, or I played a D-Brigade player where turn 1 I just hard played the Vilemon and then was blocking the 5k Commandramons, which was very nice. And then Promote is just your end game. This usually gets trashed more so than being Digivolved up, but I did have a couple times where I used the 1 to Digivolve over Champion just to choke my opponent at 1. Or one time I went over my Scatter mode with my Promote, knowing that they would have to go into BT8 Metal Greymon, which de-Digivolved my Promote back into my Scatter mode, and then when they went into Metal X, it popped my Scatter mode. So instead of my Scatter mode getting de-Digivolved down to a rookie, I just had my Promote get de-Digivolved down to Scatter mode, still got the draws, so there's stuff like that, but these two I don't think are super crazy. I think they are just kind of staples for the deck, because they are your Nailbone targets that aren't the Scatter mode for draws. It's just kind of, are you going for game, or do you need to be a little bit defensive? I was playing these both at a higher count in the past, but I decided that these are the stars of the shows when it comes to Champion, and these are kind of just there for when you need them. Alright, now we got the 4 Beelstarmon. Not too much to say here. The absolute queen of this card is super strong. This isn't one of those decks where you think, I don't maybe need 4 of the Omegas. You definitely need 4 of these because they count for their own reductions. So even if you open 3 in a hand, you can just pitch a couple off and get your reductions down and then grab them back later with Calling. But Beelstar, just very nice main card of the deck, of course. And to finish off the Digimon, we're going to be having 2 Death X-Mon, which is a card that I think just supplements the weaknesses of this deck very well. I was playing 1 Death X and 1 Omnimon Zwart Defeat to be able to pop things like Yuya, but I realized that if you play Defeat, your opponent kind of just will replay the Tamer anyway, so it doesn't matter. And Death X helps versus the decks that I found the most trouble with, which were going to be the Ulforce, the Crossheart, and the Jesmon. So just went up to the 2 Death X. Of course, we all know Death X is a very incredibly strong card, and it just works really well with Beelstar as well, because there's multiple times where, for example, my opponent had 3 Digimon on board and no Tamers, so Death X would have been reduced by 9, so it played for 11, but my Beelstar was only playing for 2, so I actually played Beelstar for 2 to Nailbone, and then Digivolved the Death X up for 6. Still got the on-play when Digivolving effect, but I only had to pay 8 instead of paying 11, while also being able to get 2 Digimon with the Nailbone. And so Death X I just think works really well with Beelstar, because you are able to get Death X out for a lot cheaper in those type of situations when you go for Beelstar and then Death X on top for 6. And also, surprisingly, I had multiple opponents that I think didn't know that Death X's effect was also a when Digivolving effect, because they seemed very surprised when I did that. But yeah, it was very potent, especially versus decks that wanted to go more wide versus me, which I felt later in the rounds, I found more people trying to go wide versus me, as were in the earlier rounds, I think people prioritized the stack. Now for Tamers, we are only playing 3, so 1 Kyoshiro and then 2 Matt and Sora. Kyoshiro being our memory tamer. It also has the secondary effect to where you can draw a card when you attack with one of your level 5 or higher, if you have 7 or less, but this effect didn't come up I think I did it once in Nationals, and then it very rarely came up in testing, which is why I'm only playing it at 1, because the draw doesn't come up as much. I strictly just wanted a memory tamer because they want to be at 3. I don't want to get choked to 1. Matt and Sora, I liked at 2 because they can stack with each other. Kyoshiro is the type of card where once you play one out on the board, you don't really want to play out a second one if you're not getting the draws because it doesn't get value. As to where with Matt and Sora, they stack on top of each other, so you can gain up to 4 memory off of these in one turn. Pair that with the Kyoshiro, you can start your turn at 7. Now that did happen a lot in testing. It didn't happen a lot at the event, but I did have a lot of times where I would have 1 and 1 out, and I was able to start the game or start the turn at 5, or I was able to have these 2 out and be able to gain +2, +4, whatever. But I don't think I actually ever got all 3 out at one time, but more so I just wanted to have 3 blue sources for the tamers, and I wanted them to have value. And like I said, Kyoshiro, once you play the first one, there's not really value in having a second one, as to where if you play a Matt and Sora, there's still value in playing another Matt and Sora. And in my previous decklist profile, I was playing BT6 Matt, which is gain a memory draw card when you promote a Gabumon, and I took that out because I just wanted more consistent memory gain. Matt was a cheaper card, which is what I liked with having a cheaper blue source to play out, so you could actually potentially keep turn and then play the blue source or play the Beelstar. But you only gain the memory if you promote a Gabumon, and you play other rookies like the Psychomon and the Gazis, so I wasn't always gaining the memory. So I just wanted something that was going to be more consistent with the memory gain. I wasn't as worried about the draw because we have so much draw, just mainly the memory, so the 2 Matt and Soras went a lot better. But I will say that my biggest thing is that this 3rd blue tamer hasn't really felt correct, like really right. This is what feels like the worst in the deck. I do like these 2 tamers for sure. I do want a 3rd blue source as a tamer. I just haven't, nothing's really felt completely right yet, so I just kind of went with the 2 Matt and Sora, but hopefully in the future we can get a better blue tamer for this deck. Now to get on into the options, we will start off with the 4 Fly Bullet, which is not really too much to say here. This is our main removal card and really our only purple removal card that isn't Fly Bullet. So this one is really important because you don't really need a color source for it besides just having a Digitama, so you don't need to have the Tamer out, which is very big. And then for our bouncing cards, we are going to be having 4 Cocytus and 2 Plasma Decker. These are going to be essentially our other main removal cards. I liked the blue package because I think bounce is very nice in this metagame because of just getting rid of sources, essentially. Being able to, if your opponent swings in with something like a Cross 5, for example, you hit one of these 2 cards, you bounce it back, they lose all those sources, so it's really good versus Digicross type decks, which were really gaining a lot of popularity in the metagame. And also, just cards like this are very strong versus Grandis Kuwagamon, Melga, stuff like that. Cards from the red package, be it like the Happy Bullet and I think Magma Storm, I just can't remember that card's name, I think it's Magma Storm. Those cards aren't as consistent in those type of matchups, as to where just security, bounce something, and delete a level 6 or lower is very nice. And that's another thing to mention, is that the Fly Bullet only deletes level 6 or lower. Cocytus Breath can bounce anything, and this bounces level 6 or higher. So these are our anti-Death X cards, because as you're about to see, we aren't playing Happy Bullet Showering, which is something that a lot of people would consider to be the Death X card for Death X. But the only other removal card that we are playing is going to be the 1 Gewalt Schwarmer in our 7 cost, and I just really wanted this for the wide removal. Being able to delete all 7 costs or less actually came up in multiple ways, whether it's be able to clear off a bunch of your opponent's Digimon on the board, or if it was just to clear off your own Digimon, which sounds really weird, but if your opponent has 1 or 2 Digimon on the board and they might not be the most threatening, but you have a scatter mode that swung into security and survived, being able to play Gewalt Schwarmer to not only clear off maybe a couple Digimon, but also be able to get your on deletion of your scatter mode is very nice. I think this card is very good. I'm not playing Howling Crusher, and I'm not playing the Happy Bullet Showering. The main reason is because I felt they were too inconsistent and too situational. Happy Bullet Showering just felt like delete rookie the card. It felt like I never was really deleting anything really big unless they only had specifically one thing on the board that was like a Death X. Then Happy Bullet Showering really was just a rookie deleter, which didn't feel powerful enough for me. And Howling Crusher was a card that I felt was incredibly powerful, could completely turn the tides of a match if it was used. But at 1, it was too inconsistent, and I didn't feel like there was room to play it at any more. So instead, I decided to cut those out and just play the removal cards that I felt were consistent and strong. And to finish off these 7-cost options are non-removals, which is the 3 Nailbone. And I was playing 2 Nailbone in the past, but I decided to go up to 3 because a couple weeks before the event, I realized that the key to success with Beelstar is to not play it as a control deck or a control style deck, but to play it as a Nailbone turbo deck that has defensive cards. And that might not make super sense, but really what you just want to do is you want to be trashing cards as fast as possible to be able to Nailbone as early as possible, so that way you can go wide as early as possible and just go in for a game. Previously, I was playing 2 Nailbone as just kind of like, okay, you get to a point where you're going to Nailbone with Promote and you go for game, and that's how the game plan is. But it's much better to just trash things out, Nailbone early, go wide, and go in for game, and then just have this package as the supplementary package to help you go Nailbone faster while also being defensive. So once I started focusing less of it as a control deck and focusing on the removal and more so focusing on the damage output and being able to get things on board, the deck worked a lot better. So went up to 3 Nailbone, and this is going to be our full 7-cost package. Now to get into the final couple options here, we'll start off with the 2 Deathclaw. This card is absolutely insane. It doesn't matter if you delete anything or not. Doesn't matter. This card basically says delete your scatter mode and then potentially delete something on your opponent's side of the board, which might not sound that good, but this card was absolutely insane. Being able to swing in with scatter mode, and then if it doesn't die, then being able to Deathclaw to get the draws and trashes came up so much. But being able to swing scatter mode, it survive, and then Deathclaw, and then delete a rookie just gives you so much advantage. It came up super insane. I think I Deathclawed more to just delete my scatter mode than I was worried about deleting my opponent's Digimon throughout the event. Definitely wouldn't cut the Deathclaw. I've seen a lot of lists that play Deathclaw at 1 or none. I don't understand that at all, because 1, you need something to easily delete Psychmons or Solarmons that are on your opponent's side of the board, because it's much easier to deal with your own Psychmon than it is to deal with your opponent's Psychmon. So there's that, but also just being able to delete your scatter modes and your Dark Rizamons is so much value. It's absolutely insane, especially for 1, because there's a lot of times where I'll just be at 0, swing scatter mode, survived. Okay, I'm going to choke you at 1, scatter mode's gone, I'm going to draw trash, be able to hit that rookie that I need to hatch into next turn or whatever I need, plus be able to delete something. Deathclaw, super MVP this weekend. Next up, we have the 1 Mist Memory Boost, and I'm only playing this at 1 because this is a card I had a really weird relationship with, because I started off with testing this deck and I said Mist Memory Boost is absolutely insane, I need to play 3 or 4 of this, and then very quickly I ended up cutting it down to 0, and then I ended up adding it back to 1 because, like I said earlier, I was focusing a bit too much on the control-y aspect. This card didn't feel like it was supporting that. But then once I kind of switched my mindset to just being about nailboning as fast as possible, this card became super cracked, because it's essentially, it's just a +2 to Beelstar, because you play this, no matter what, it's a +2 to Beelstar, because you can pop it to gain 2 to reduce your Beelstar. But for every 7 cost you hit off of these, it's a +1. So if you play this and you hit 1 7 cost and 1 non-7 cost, it's essentially a +3 to your Beelstar. And so I wanted to go up a Mist Memory Boost. I spent basically the week before the event trying to go back to 2, but I never really found the room. It was really easy for me to fit 1 in, but it wasn't easy for me to fit 2 in. So we ended up just playing the 1 Mist Memory Boost. But again, this card was very nice because it's essentially at least a +2 to your Beelstar, which is very nice when you're trying to get Nailbone out as fast as possible. And then the last card of the deck is the 1 Calling of Darkness, of course, because it's limited to 1. If I could play this at 3 or 4, I definitely would. It would be super insane. But this card, just being able to get back your Beelstars is very nice. A lot of the times during the event, too, I played this to not even get Beelstar backs. I had times where I got back Death X. I had times where I would just grab back Rookie Scatter Mode and just put those into Raising. Things like that. Calling just has a lot of different ways that you can play it and how cards that you can get back. So, obvious pick for this deck. But that is going to be the list here. I will go ahead and put my matchups somewhere right here really quick so that you can see what I performed this weekend. And if you have any more questions, feel free to leave them down below. But this is going to be the list that I used to get top 32 at Nationals. As all you can see here, I do have the jacket on with the top 32 stitch. Let's see if I can get that in. try right there. But very happy with the weekend, very happy with the performance. Had a great week out there in California. Gonna do my best to grind out this next year and do better next year, but am happy that I was able to bring Beelstar to the main stage one more time after it was probably not really meta since last Nationals, but something that I'm very happy with. So hope you all enjoyed this list. If you test it out, let me know what you think. But with that being said, I will catch you all next time. Hope you have a fantastic week, and I will see you. Peace out.